Commissioner Henderson, your presence is required. We had you back to me, sir. Mr. Wright, I have a question before I get started. Do we have a closed session today?
No, I don't think so.
No? Okay. Well, I was just wondering, because before I start navigating this agenda, we got a luncheon to get to, so no closed session today. Okay. And now you're recording, okay. All right, I'd like to call the order of the Lyon County Board of County Commissioners, Thursday, December 15th, 2022, 9 a.m. Action will be taken on all items unless otherwise noted. No action will be taken on any item until it's properly agendized. To avoid meeting disruption, please place cell phones and beepers in silent mode or turn them off during the meeting. The board reserves the right to take items in a different order to accomplish business in the most efficient manner. Items may be combined for consideration and items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. Restrictions on comments by the general public. Any such restrictions must be reasonable and may restrict the time, place, and manner of the comments. Wow, helps if I can read this morning, but not restrict comments based upon viewpoint. The Board of Commissioners convening as other boards. Members of the Board of County Commissioners also serve as the Liquor Board, Central Lyon Vector Control District Board, Mason Valley Mosquito Abatement District Board, Walker River Weed Control District Board, Willow Creek General Improvement District Board, the Silver Springs General Improvement District Board, and during this meeting may convene as any of those boards is indicated on this or a separately posted agenda. Please note, this meeting may break between 11:30 to 1:30 for lunch, and we're going to try to be on time so that all employees can enjoy their Christmas luncheon today. Roll call, I have Commissioner Jacobson, Commissioner Henderson, Commissioner Hockaday, and myself, Commissioner Keller, in chambers. Our invocation today will be given by Nathan Sam Whistler of the United Methodist. There was a pause in there, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. So if I can get everybody to please rise.
Good morning, folks. Lyon County Commissioners. Season's greetings from the United Methodist Church. Let us pray. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for your love, grace, and mercy. We thank you for those who serve in every capacity, their community, their county, their state, their country, their family, and above all, you. We come before you this morning in person and across the digital airways, asking for your blessing and guidance over this assembly of volunteers, concerned citizens, representatives, leaders, and decision makers. Grant this assembly of men and women the wisdom to govern at best the interests of the citizens and communities that they serve. Hear our humble intercession, and may we keep in mind your people, your creation, your love, that your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Remove from our minds hatred, prejudice, and contempt for those who are different, not of our own race or color, gender, class, or creed. That departing from everything that estranges and divides us, we may bring by you be brought into unity of spirit in the bond of peace. Teach us to see people by the light of the faith we profess, that we may look within ourselves all ungenerous judgments, all presumptuous claims, that recognizing the needs and rightful claims of others, we may remove old hatreds, rivalries, and begin new understandings, that we may bring our tributes of excellence to the treasury of our common humanity. We thank you for the representatives and authentic leaders, men and women who love your people and can walk with them, feel their pain, and share their joys. who dream their dreams and strive to accompany them to their common goal. Help us to see and recognize them. Embolden us as you commission to transform our political system to serve your people and to bring real glory to your name. Through your Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord, we pray. Amen. Merry Christmas and God bless you all.
Bless you. Thank you. Commissioner Hoffaday, can you lead us in the pledge?
Begin, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated. Okay, at this time, we're going to go to public participation. No action will be taken on any item until it's properly agendized. It is anticipated that public participation will be held at this time, though it may be returned to at any time during the agenda. Citizens wishing to speak during public participation are asked to state their name for the record and will be limited to 3 minutes. The board will conduct public comment after discussion of each agenda action item, but before the board takes any action. Afterwards, please print your name at the clerk's desk, which is really up there. And if you're on Zoom, I ask that you please spell your name. So this is public participation for anything that's not on the agenda. So do I have anybody for public participation today? I'm not seeing hands. Okay, seeing none. Number 5, for possible action, review and adoption of the agenda. Andrew, anything I need to know about?
No changes except for Assemblyman Gray is running late for item 6A.
Gotcha, okay. All right, can I get a motion, please?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Public comment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. I don't think mine like this. I apologize to anybody that was on Zoom. Evidently, my mic was not on. Okay, so. Well, that's not until 10 o'clock, so we're okay on that one anyways. And then 7A, we're gonna skip because he's not here yet. So I'm gonna go to 7B. For presentation only, recognize the long-term employment and extraordinary service given by Clerk Treasurer Nikki Bryan, Recorder Margie Cassabaum, and Sheriff Frank Honeywell. Can I get all 3 of you to please come forward? Andrew, would you like to say a few words? I know you got.
Absolutely. So I just want to say a couple words and I'll keep it very brief, but we wanted to recognize the 3 of you for your service to Lyon County as outgoing elected officials, but as also retiring employees from Lyon County. All of you have worked for Lyon County for several many years. Nikki Bryant has 34 and a half years with Lyon County. I think over 22 of those were as clerk treasurer. 24 of those were as clerk treasurer. Margie Cassabaum has 22 and a half years. 4 of those were as the recorder, and Frank Honeywell has 29 years with the sheriff's department, the last 4 as our sheriff. So I just want to recognize the 3 of you and thank you for your service to the county. And we have a plaque for each of you, or a certificate.
Can you gentlemen join me down front, please? Camera, it's the cameras. Come here, I'll cut snap. We go there. We're ready to case. Got it? Thank you, guys. Thank you. I know, I'm talking to this, that's what I do. Exactly. Thank you. Starting with Commissioner Jacobson, while you guys are still in the room, did you have anything you would like to say?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just like to thank all three of you. There is such a thing as institutional knowledge, and we are losing a bunch of it. So just want to thank you all very much and appreciate it. And I hope you have fun, and promise you'll get into a little bit of trouble. All right, Frank, that goes for you too.
Commissioner Hockaday.
Well, thank you for your service to the county for such a long period of time. It's kind of tough moving on to something new. I realized when I retired from the Air Force that the most important word you could understand is when everybody asks you, hey, you're retired, can you do this? No is still a good word. So you can kind of save your time for yourself and have a great retirement.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Not much to add, just thank you very much. You are all going to leave a very big hole in the county. I have no doubt that we will have people that will come in and do an adequate job, but we are definitely going to miss you guys. And thank you very much for your long-term dedication to our county.
Yeah, same goes for me, guys. I mean, it's hard to see you guys go because you do have the institutional knowledge. But I wish you the best retirement in the world. And like Commissioner Hockaday said, yeah, when everybody asks you to start volunteering, pick your committees or whatever wisely so you don't take away from your personal time. And, hey, maybe we'll have to start our own retirement club down here so that everybody still gets together, right? So, but thank you. That's a lot of years of service. Okay, moving on. For presentation only, recognize the community service given by Marilyn Abbott and Nettie Lawson of the Smith Valley Citizen Advisory Boards. And this was requested by Commissioner Hockaday.
And I'd like to just say that Marilyn and Nettie have been really workers in the advisory board in Smith Valley. Marilyn has been the director for the cemetery board and done a fantastic job of taking care of the cemetery and the paperwork and doing all that stuff that the county usually takes care of for the rest of the county cemeteries. And Nettie, of course, had the toughest job of being the secretary, and she did an excellent job at that. So I really appreciate their time, efforts, and service to the community. And I know we'll see them at the meetings in the future, and I look forward to that.
Thank you, Commissioner Hockaday. Commissioner reports, Commissioner Jacobson.
Leadoff hitter today. All right. Thank
Yeah,
you,
that
Madam
was the
Chair.
way I'm looking.
Just like to thank Mr. Foley, even though I left my budget on the kitchen table, I wanted to thank him for that lengthy snoozer report. It's good bedtime reading. Attended the Joint Commission meeting with Churchill County and appreciated the presentations by state officials, hydrologists, other conservation agencies. Also attended yesterday on Silver Springs dedication, the Harvey Canal. Just want to make sure and thank Commissioner Keller. That was you presented that about a year ago, and what a wonderful dedication ceremony. Mr. Harvey's son was there, and I could tell that he was very grateful. Maybe not so much for the naming of the canal, but just the recognition of the hard work his dad put into all that. And so Commissioner Keller and to Commissioner Harvey's son, and all those that helped out, just a wonderful deal. And then I know Mr. Homestead and I believe Justin did a great job rounding up the monument and the plaque and so if you get a chance when you drive through Silver Springs, it takes about 2 seconds. You can just, it's right by the skate park. Everyone knows where that's at. You drive by it on 95A there, but you can check it out. And again, that was just a fantastic dedication ceremony. So thank you, Commissioner Keller. And then finally, I just want to thank, I see ex-Commissioner Gray's running late, but just want to thank Commissioner Keller and Commissioner Gray for their service to Lyon County, and definitely wish you both well.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacobson. I appreciate that. Commissioner Hockaday.
That was pretty much my speech, but thank you for giving it.
I got
appreciate
to
it.
go first.
You got first. That's right. I'm not going to spend a lot of time other than did attend the same meetings, and I have to say that Commissioner Jacobson summed it up extremely well, and I thank you for that. So I will move on with the next comments then.
Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Attended the Mountain House Advisory Board. They are, of course, interested in the community center progress, and try to let them know they'll be patient. We're all working on it. It's going to happen. It's just things take a little bit of time. Also attended the Dayton Regional Advisory Board. Wasn't very much there. There was some concern about new stop signs that were installed at the intersection of Dayton Valley Road and Lakes Boulevard. They concerned there's not enough signage there and people are blowing right through them. So probably talk to our road department about that. I wasn't able to attend the dedication ceremony yesterday because I was at the Campo meeting. So I had to go to that. One thing to note on Campo area, we'll be revising the transportation improvement project listing early next year. And that will incorporate the Highway 50 study, at least a part of that is in Campo. So that will be included in that as well. Then I do want to note that the Fallon Naval Base Extension Bill has gone through the House. I found it interesting. They're going to withdraw 558,000 acres of land in Churchill, Lyon, Mineral, Nye, and Persian counties for the expansion. Going to protect 581,887 acres of land for new conservation and wilderness areas. The Navy's also going to give $20 million each to the Walker River and the Fallon Paiute tribes. They will both get more than 8,000 acres of federal land be held in trust for them. And then Churchill County is getting 20,000 acres of land, and Lander County is getting 22,000 acres of land for economic development. Lyon County is getting squatch, nothing. And I think that's part of a bigger issue that we're going to be discussing in the future is Lyon County's, what I feel we're not getting our fair share of federal benefits that other counties around us are getting. And I don't know why, but we need to work on that and further develop our relationship with our congressional delegation. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a great update on what's going on when it comes to that land. Anyways, gosh, I was at the same ceremony you were at. So thank you, Commissioner Jacobson, for the kind words. I think it means a lot to each and every community when we're able to recognize folks that, went up and beyond for their communities over the years. And so I appreciate both of you attending. I forgive you for not being there, Commissioner Henderson. I understand.
Thank you.
So other than that, let's just get on with the agenda today. I know we've got an exciting luncheon going on and a lot of good things happening. And so I'm going to move on to our County Manager, Mr. Haskin.
I will keep it brief this morning. I attended a lot of the same meetings that all of you did as well, so I thank you for your attendance and some good stuff going on there. This is our last board meeting of the year, and so I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank our staff for a really great year here at Lyon County. I know I say this all the time, but the staff here is really what makes things go around and makes Lyon County a special place to work and live. So really want to thank them for their dedication this last year and look forward to a great 2023. Also would like to thank all the folks that worked on putting together the Christmas luncheon for the staff, for everyone. I know a lot of hard work goes into coordinating that event as well. So just want to mention them, and the comptroller's office, I know, puts a lot of work into that. I know Shayla's office does a lot of stuff with the toy drive and everything. So I just want to recognize everyone there and express my appreciation for that. And then really just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Any questions for Andrew while he's still standing? You like that? Evidently not. So we're going to move on. Thank you, Mr. Haskin. Okay, elected officials report. Sheriff. This is your last one.
This is my last one. Woo-hoo.
Make it good.
Frank Hunwell for the record. I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank each and every one of you guys for the relationship that we've had over the last 4 years and the stuff that we've been able to accomplish. It was a really good working relationship, and I wish Mr. Pope the best of luck in his new endeavor and as it goes on. So congratulations to Brad. One person I want to recognize that's important to me right now for the event that we're coming up, Jenna Dykes. So our Shop with a Cop event is coming up this weekend in Fernley. We're going to take 25 kids shopping at like $300 a piece. So we're able to raise a lot of money for that program this year. I mean, we almost doubled what we did last year. So that's a phenomenal event. It's going to happen on Saturday. And Jen is in charge of lining up all the kiddos that get to go. So if we didn't have our working relationship we have with human services, it wouldn't be possible to pull that off either. So yeah, Jen. Outside of that, we got another new hire starting on Monday, so we're still trying to work on that. And business is been just as usual. I mean, busy. We've got a lot of stuff going on. Like I already said, I wish Brad and the new administration the best of luck, and got some challenges ahead of you, and I think you guys will work through it. So other than that, I just want to say thank you, and I'm honored to be here today and at least get to address you guys for one last time. So I'm gonna try to stay out of trouble with you.
Well, Sheriff, all I can say is it's been a pleasure to work with you over the years as well. And going to be missed, but hopefully you're not going far away. Exactly. So anyways, any comments from anyone? Don't want to ignore anyone here.
Madam Chair, I already thank Frank, but thank you again, Mr. Honeywell. Good, best of luck.
Yeah, I think Sheriff Honeywell knows that I have appreciated everything he's done for the county and also working with us to get things done for the sheriff's department.
Ditto.
Ditto. Okay, I just didn't want to, ignore anybody. So, and with that being said, congratulations, Mr. Pope. So the commissioner, I won't be up here, but the fellow commissioners, I'm sure are looking forward to your first report next year. So there you go. Any other elected officials? Oh, come on, Steve.
Steve Rye, District Attorney. I don't have much of a report really, but I did want to step up and just say for the DA's office, we cannot operate without these other departments. And so Nikki, Margie, Frank have been great for the DA's office, big help to me. And so they'll be missed. But we do appreciate all the support they've given us over the last 20 odd years. So that's all I want to say. And let's see, we're DA's office busy with cases. The sheriff's office is really hitting us hard the last couple months, and we're trying to keep up with that. But things are going well, just real busy.
So before you run away,
Yeah.
so you got reelected, so you don't get to retire, but just curious, how many years do you have in now?
21.
21, okay.
Yeah.
So we plan to keep you around a few more. You're not allowed to retire, you know, without 20 something, 30, right? Anyways, congratulations.
Thanks.
Okay, any other elected officials? Seeing none, how about appointed officials?
Andrew Haskin, for the record, putting on my community development hat for the moment. But
Oh, we finally get to meet him?
yeah. So I am excited to introduce Bill Roth to the commission. Bill is our new senior planner. So I'll let him say a few words, but I just wanted to make sure we took the opportunity to introduce him.
Yeah, and I just want to say good morning and Merry Christmas to everybody before I come in with a bunch of projects that you have to work through. I'm super excited to be here. You know, I moved to Nevada recently, and it's the independence spirit, the sense of freedom out here that really drew me, and beginning a new chapter of my life. And everybody's been super helpful to me. That's Lewis, Shannon, Carrie, and planning, and I've been here about a month so far, but I'm starting to get the gist of things, and I have a lot to learn from the community here. So I'm just really excited and hope to bring you guys some good projects.
Well, welcome,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Roth, and I've heard nothing but good things so far, so welcome aboard. Lyon County is lucky to have somebody of your stature step in, and I myself appreciate it. Even though I'm stepping off this board, everybody here knows I won't go far away, so you'll be hearing from me. I'm always working on projects. So anyways, I just wanted to personally welcome you and actually have a face to go with the name. This is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be here, and I hope we here for quite a while. So.
So any other commissioner questions, comments?
Yes,
Commissioner Anderson.
thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to welcome you aboard. You know, you are joining what I think is the finest county staff in the country. So welcome aboard.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Okay, well, thank you again. And I'm sure you're gonna be at the Christmas party, right? Okay, we'll see you again. All right, any other appointed officials? I know you're sitting there behaving yourself for right now. I get it.
You wait until
Okay.
10 o'clock.
Exactly. All right, seeing none, how about advisory board reports? Hey, seeing none, let's move to the consent agenda. Items 12A through, looks, well, short agenda,
It is.
15B. I'm looking for the end, it was way up here.
Make
So
a
any-
motion. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Madam Chair, could we pull 14A, please,
For discussion, right?
for discussion?
Okay, anything else? Can I get a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda 12A through 15B, pulling 14A for discussion.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Do I have any public comment? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. 14A for possible action. Approve a contract with Walker Lake Disposal for an amount not to exceed 99,900 for biosolids hauling services from the Rolling A wastewater treatment plant to the Lockwood and Carson City landfills, with funding coming from the Dayton Sewer Fund. And this was requested by David Paquetta.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess my two questions kind of, and I don't know if the second one is much of a question, but. Well, actually, I might have three things. It said three contractors, but didn't see Waste Management's proposal in there. So I don't know if we got a third one from them or not. And maybe I just didn't see it. And then also, how many trips a month on average? I don't know that I read that in there either. I didn't see how many trips that was a month. And then it seems like in reading what Lyon County does, it seems like we do a lot of that work for that bid, but I just needed some clarity on that.
This is Andrew Haskin. I might need a few minutes. So Mr.
He's not
Buchanan,
online.
huh?
Yeah, he's not on.
Yeah, Mr. Buchanan let me know that he had the reason he's not here this morning, he had another wastewater issue he was having to deal with this morning. So let me.
That's fine. I guess I was.
No, if you give me a minute, I mean, we can get you your answers. He told me just to let him know and he'd hop on, so. I'll do that real quick. Take a minute.
Sorry. There he is.
Madam Chair, we take 5.
Yeah, we can. We're just gonna take 5.
Sorry.
Give him a chance. That's okay. I just didn't want to table if he was gonna jump right on, so tell him he's got 5 minutes to get on.
He just hopped on, but we can wait 5 minutes. It's not a problem.
Your seats again. Mr. Burketta, you ready?
Yes. Hi, Madam Chair. David Briquetta for the record. This landfill solids contract, did you want me to give an overview of it, or did you have specific questions?
Commissioner Jacobson had a couple of specific questions. He can restate those for us, please.
Yeah, I didn't have a whole lot of questions. I just had, it said 3 contractors bid on it, but I didn't see a bid from Waste Management. And maybe I just didn't see it or any information from them.
Yeah, so they, we had sent them, they provide this service. We sent the information to them. They said they would get back to us. And then as we collected the information, they said that they were not going to provide prices, that they weren't interested in it. So we still consider that because we reached out to them and they have the capability to do it, but they chose not to put in a formal quote for it.
All right, that answers that question. I figured it was something easy like that. Also, sir, how many trips on average do they make a year with the biosolids?
So typically what happens is they have these 20-yard roll-off dumpsters at the plant. They fill 2 at a time. Well, they fill 1, they pull it out, and then they fill the second. And they usually haul off 2 at a time up to Lockwood. That's probably 95% of where they go. And they're usually delivered just shy of once a week. So 2 roll-offs once a week.
Okay, that answered that question. And then finally, I was just reading Lyon County shall be responsible for, and it seemed like we do quite a bit of the work.
In the contract, the terms of the contract,
Yes, sir.
where there's some specific concerns. So we wanted to make it clear what we were going to be doing versus, what the company does. We're still responsible for the bins. I mean, this is really just a sludge hauling contract. So once it goes onto the truck from the 20-yard roll-offs, then it really becomes their responsibility from that point forward.
Okay, sorry to trouble you. I just had those 3 short little things. I appreciate it. Madam Chair, if there's nobody else.
Oh, Commissioner Henderson has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Commissioner Jacobson, for bringing this up, because now I got to look at it a little more. Mr. Briquette, I have one question for you. The contract is for not to exceed $99,900, but we actually do pay by the load.
Yeah, that is correct. It's a time and material contract for each load that's hauled off.
Okay, because the $826.68 for 2 dumpsters, that happens once a week. That's a little short of $43,000. So it's just good to know.
Yeah, and so with that, and that is one of the unique things that Walker Lake Disposal has, is they have a vehicle that can actually put 2 of those 20-yard roll-offs onto one vehicle and haul it off. So that's very unique to them, and that's proven to be very cost effective for Lyon County.
Okay, that could raise another question, but I'm good. All right, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, anybody else?
Madam Chair, with
Thank you,
that.
David, I appreciate
Oh,
it.
yep. Thank you, Mr. Briquetta. Sorry, Madam Chair, for cutting it. Madam Chair, with that, I would like to approve 14A as presented.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Public comment on this issue? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Mr. Briquetta, thank you. Okay, what time is it? 9:42. So I'm going to move down to the regular agenda 16A for possible action to avoid. Okay, yeah, that's the order I have to go in. Okay, the other applications. All right, making sure I was going in the right order here. For possible action, appoint up to 3 members of the planning commission with terms expiring December 31st, 2026. We have 5 applications: Tammy Hendricks, Audrey Allen, Greg Clausen, Ralph Ewing, and Norman Lee. Real quickly, before I throw out a motion. Would any one of those five like to speak? If not, that's fine. Your application speaks for itself. So just wanted to give that opportunity. Okay, with that being said, Andrew, I'm gonna ask you real quick, did we verify? Okay. So with that being said, Tammy Hendricks, Audrey Allen, obviously have served on the planning commission and have served Lyon County well. So my motion would be to appoint Tammy Hendricks, Audrey Allen, and Greg Clausen from Smith Valley to the planning commission with terms expiring December 31st, 2026.
Second.
Any discussion from the board?
Yes, Madam Chair. With the fact that the motion is for 3 appointments at this time, I'll be voting no on this one.
Can I ask?
I don't
Your
agree with the
reasoning?
3.
Huh?
I don't agree with the 3.
Oh, got you. Okay. I didn't quite understand what you said. That's why I was unclear. Okay, so I have a motion in the second. So all in favor, please. Oh,
Further discussion?
yeah, I'm sorry.
No, Madam Chair,
I skip you.
I wouldn't mind maybe going one by one on this. I just see that there's some of these applicants, one of the applicants is put in for the Smith Valley Advisory and another one for the Dayton Advisory. And so I'm all for Miss Hendricks and Miss Allen, but I'm leaning towards Norman Lee as a possible applicant as well. So I'm inclined to vote nay on this as well.
I'm just gonna. Normally also paying for the Dayton Valley Advisory.
Oh,
So update, so. Pretty much you've all put in for everything.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I may. Norman Lee has since also applied for the Dayton Regional Advisory Board as well.
Correct.
So just want to make sure that.
Yeah, that's why we're doing this one first, because we have multiples.
Well, yeah, but at
Applications.
first only Mr. Ewing had applied and now Mr. Lee has also applied.
Okay. Gotcha. One, I think Mr. Clausen had applied for 2 also.
Right.
So we had multiples. So with that being said, in this case, as it's been explained in the past, the appointments come by the chair with your approval. So I will break that apart just for this discussion. I move to approve or appoint Tammy Hendricks and Audrey Allen to the Planning Commission with terms expiring December 31st, 2026.
Second.
So Dave, is that second still
The
stand with
second
my
still
amendment?
stands with those 2, yes.
Thank you. So any further discussion? Public comment on this, Commissioner Jacobs?
just want to thank the ladies for their hard work and I really appreciate the input that the Planning Commission gives us. So want to thank those ladies.
Any public comment? All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, as the chair, I'm still going to throw the motion out there to appoint Greg Clausen to the Planning Commission with terms expiring December 31st, 2026. And I apologize a second ago, you actually don't have to second that motion. My mistake with the discussion, I went with that. So at this point, any further discussion on that appointment? Public comment? All in favor? Oh,
Yeah.
Commissioner Hockaday.
And, one of the things, of course, is my district and Mr. Clausen is in it. We do have 1 representative from Smith Valley and the other 6 are from the northern end of the county. And so I kind of look at some balance here as one of the reasons that I'm supporting Greg for the position in the south end of the county. And that's my reasoning on supporting Mr. Clausen.
No, I appreciate your comments, Commissioner Hockaday, because that's exactly why I'm going. All 3 gentlemen that have applied have great backgrounds, great applications. I think any one of the 3 would be great on the board, but we have always struggled to keep more than one from the south end of the county on the planning commission. And we actually have an application from the south. And so the reason why we have the imbalance that we have is that lack of applications. We've got somebody willing to step up and fill a position from the south end of the county to balance out the 7. And so that is really why I am pushing hard that we go with Mr. Clausen to keep that balance going that we had lost in the previous years. So with that being said, that is my spiel. The commission can vote accordingly. But please keep that in mind that we do have 6 from the north at this time. So I'm going to ask for a vote. All in favor, please signal by saying aye.
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 Opposed.
Nay.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Jacobson. Mr. Clausen, thank you for your application. The motion passes 3-1. Commissioner Henderson being the nay. So congratulations to all 3 of you. And Tammy, keep up the great work. I know you chair the planning commission now. And from what I've seen, you've done a really terrific job in doing that. So moving forward, 16B. For possible action, appoint up to 3 members to the Dayton Regional Advisory Board with 2 terms expiring December 31st, 2024, and 1 term expiring December 31st, 2023. And our applicants are Gina Lee and Ralph Ewing, and we have
And Norman.
Norman Lee now added to that. And again, I'm going back. Yeah, it is 3 members, and we've got 3 applications. Please note, anybody that makes the motion that to please separate when you do the 2 terms, who those 2 people are for the 24 expiration and 1 for the 2023 expiration.
Madam Chair, if you're ready, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to move to appoint Gina Lee and Ralph Ewing to the Dayton Regional Advisory Board with terms expiring December 31st, 2024, and Norman Lee with the term expiring December 31st, 2023.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and I actually have one question that just popped in my head. Do we have anything in our policies, procedures for husbands and wives sitting on the same board?
So that might be a question for the district attorney. I know that we have had this situation come up in the past with the Mountain House Advisory Board where a husband and wife have sat on the board at the same time.
I thought so, so
So.
we've already set precedents that it's okay.
Yeah, but we might have the district attorney just confirm that.
Mr. Wright, could you please confirm that we're not making a mistake?
Yes, if I can have just a minute to look at the bylaws.
For a minute there, I thought you were running away.
Steve Rye, District Attorney. I don't see anything that prevents the husband and wife from serving. The board and the husband and wife need to be aware that there can be instances where there may be a conflict that arises because of that relationship. They'd have to take that into account prior to voting.
I didn't remember anything in the bylaws, but I just wanted to make sure before we did it. So, all right, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner
Mr. Rye,
Jacobson?
if I ever try to run on the same board as my wife, I want you to run me over with your pickup truck, okay?
Okay, any public comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Anyways, congratulations, Gina, Norman, and Ralph. Or in this case, it might be condolences. 16C for possible action to appoint up to 2 members to the Smith Valley Advisory Board with terms expiring December 31st, 2024. And so if we could please note that Greg Clausen cannot be considered on this one at this time. So that leaves us with 2 applicants, Mark Jones and Jonathan Turner.
I'll make a motion to appoint Mark Jones and Jonathan Turner to the Smith Valley Advisory Board with terms expiring December 31st, 2024.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Public comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. 16D for possible action. Appoint up to 3 members to the Silver Springs Advisory Board with 2 terms expiring December 31st, 2024, and 1 term expiring December 31st, 2023. And if we could please note, we do have 3 applications now. Andrea Bellman, Nancy Broughton, and Catherine Baker.
Madam,
So-
no,
Oh,
Sorry.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we appoint Catherine Baker to the term expiring December 31st, 2023, and Andrea Bellman and Nancy Broughton to the terms expiring December 31st, 2024.
I'll second that. Any further discussion? Public comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. And again, I want to thank all 3 of these ladies for stepping up and getting their applications in a timely manner. So the Silver Springs Advisory Board will have a full board come their January meeting. So for possible action, appoint up to 4 members to the Room Tax Board with terms expiring December 31st, 2024. And please note, we have 1 applicant, James Kepler. And we didn't have any did we have a last minute on
Yes.
that one?
Yes,
We did, yes.
Oh, I missed that.
Debbie Skinner applied as well, and there should be, we should have the late backup.
Debbie Skinner.
Those,
Was there another late one?
those are the 2 that I.
Okay, who am I missing?
We can have that maybe next month.
If there is another one, we can, what was that? So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not seeing another one.
Madam Chair,
Okay,
I'd like to make a motion that we appoint James Kepler and Deborah Skinner to the Room Tax Board, terms expiring December 31st, 2024.
Second.
Mr. Foley. Something.
Josh Foley, Lyon County Comptroller for the record. So the state law and the county code are specific that those appointments are for certain people with certain experience. As an example, we have to have a hotel operator on there. So I think we should state which positions they're filling on there in the room tax code.
Oh.
I believe Debbie Skinner would be filling a motel and maybe Mr. Kepler is at large.
Does somebody have the?
Madam Chair, I amend my motion to meet that, those requirements.
Second.
And it was as you stated, Mr. Foley. Okay,
Hotel.
all right. So we have a motion, and a second. Any further discussion? Public comment? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Again, thank you to everyone who has stepped up to volunteer for their communities. I appreciate it. All right, what time is it? 9:58. We got 2 minutes to go. Okay, Andrew, I'm gonna go into county manager real quick because we're not quite to our time specific. For possible action, accept the donation of a flat screen television, microphone, mounting brackets, and related equipment valued at approximately $500 for the Smith Valley Advisory Board meeting location at the Smith Valley Justice Court, 2 Day Lane, Smith, Nevada, requested by Commissioner Hockaday.
Up, Andrew Haskin for the record. Yeah, so this item is pretty much as stated in the description there. Commissioner Hockaday is would like to donate the items in the agenda item and as presented, and so we have to bring that before the board to accept that.
Commissioner Hockaday, I think it's great that you stepped up and helped supply these items. So I would like to move that we accept as it was presented. Item 17A.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Public comment? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Karaoke night now down in Smith Valley.
Exactly. I was thinking the same thing.
I think we gotta go back on that one because I believe Commissioner Hockaday. Oh, on the room tax? I'm sorry.
Oh, did we make a mistake?
No, I'm sorry. I thought he was talking about something else.
Josh Fuller, Lyon County Comptroller, looking at it, Jim Kepler was reapplying to be other commercial interests. instead
Other
of that
commercial
motion.
interest, okay.
So if we could go back and modify that motion, I apologize.
Okay, again, on item 16E for possible action, appoint up to 4 members of the room tax board with terms expiring December 31st, 2024. Could I get a motion for clarification, please?
Just make that motion to read that James Kepler will be reapplying for his other commercial interest position.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a
That's-
motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. All right, corrections on record. Okay, now we are at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I was just gonna make a comment about the television. We do have some things to work out with IT and facilities and getting the bracket up, and so it'll probably be well within 2023 before we get everything done. Modem, whatever's got to be done. So I just believe it'll be nice to have the possibility of reaching more people in Smith Valley via Zoom. You know, of course, getting my laptop set up so that I could set that up also. And now that we do have Wi-Fi over in that room from the contractor, whoever was doing the library. So it'll just be nice to have that out there in the hinterland.
Again, thank you, Commissioner Hockaday. Okay, we're gonna go to our time certain, 10 a.m. for possible action, approve the fiscal year 2022 annual comprehensive financial report, which has been audited by Sharani and Company in accordance with Nevada Revised Statute 354.624. You do not look like Jim. Mr. Foley.
That's a tribute to Jim. He's lucky. Josh Fuller, Lyon County Comptroller for the record. I want to thank Mr. Sharani and his firm for auditing. They do a fantastic job for us each year and at a very reasonable price. I also want to thank all the department heads and my staff for all the work that goes into keeping our financials the way they should be. And I want to thank the kind Commissioner Jacobson for the kind words earlier that he had on the audit report and presenting that. And so this is one of the two books that I write and author each year. One of them is a budget book. This is the annual comprehensive financial report. I appreciate you guys joining up for the Book of the Month Club, and we're going to go through and start reading. I'm just kidding. I will give you a Christmas present today, and that is I will touch on the important things in here and try and keep it brief so that I don't take up too much time. I see the foam ball you're ready to throw at me. So we'll start into it right away then. Let's go ahead and turn to page 17 on the PDF. You'll be on page 35, Andrew. And there are a lot of things I could over in this audit report, but I'm just going to highlight a handful of things on here. Actually, can you see that well enough on your screens, Mr. Jacobson?
Yep.
Okay, because if not, I can bring you
I got the book.
I have
We're
another.
good.
I've got it.
You're good?
Perfect.
Okay. I want to draw your attention on this. This is a snapshot in time of June 30th, what we had in our fund balance. That's what I want to draw your attention to on this. And we have three major funds: general fund, regional street and highway fund, which is your RTC, and then the capital improvements. And then all the other funds that are governmental are lumped into one column, other governmental funds. But I want to go down and just focus, first of all, on the general fund. If you look at the second line from the bottom, the general fund had a fund balance of $10,778,380. That's approximately 26% of what our expenditures were for the year. So we have a healthy fund balance right now. Our guidelines would try and get that right around 16.67%, but we're a little bit higher than that. If you take a look 2 lines above that, we have assigned of 4.7, almost $4.8 million. That's what the board in their budget, this board in their budget, decided to spend into the fund balance when they built the budget for the fiscal year that we're in currently. So just so you're aware. We'll move on to the regional street and highway fund for your RTC. And the second line from the bottom, the fund balance is $15,348,636. This is where we do all of our road projects out of for both cities and for the county. So at the end of June, the county had about 5.1 million of that balance that we use, we save up, and then we do a big project each year, usually CHIPS in the project. City of Fernley has approximately $9.2 million saved up in that fund for their road projects. And the city of Yerington has just over $1 million out of that. So just so you're aware, even though we have $15 million, it's not all for the county. It's shared with the cities as well under statute. And then over on the capital improvements fund, the second line from the bottom, you'll see we have $18,742,550. This is where we, for the most part, do our major projects, buildings and such. So if you go up to the 2 lines above that have numbers in them, you'll see restricted, we have approximately $5.9 million. That is going towards the $9 million remodel at the Justice Complex out of the public safety sales tax. And so we don't have enough money saved up, but we're proceeding forward with the bidding. That should be coming to you fairly soon. It's at the building permit stage right now. But we're counting on sales tax revenues to get us to that $9 million over the next year and a half or so that we build it. And then down below that, you'll see $12.8 million. That's what we have saved up in cash towards the Dayton Government Complex. That's going to be somewhere between $20 to $24 million. So just to give you an idea what the board's directive on that fund balance is. Then we'll move on. Any questions on that? Okay, we'll move on to page 19, which would be page 39 for you, Andrew. This is the same information, same funds, same information, except this is the profit and loss statement, if you will. This is how much money we brought in, how much money we spent. And if you go to the third line from the bottom, it just shows you how much we have, how much we've spent into fund balance or built fund balance up during the year. So if you look at the general fund, we spent almost $700,000 more than we brought in during the year. So just so you're aware of that. And then the regional street and highway fund or RTC, we brought in about $1 million more than we spent, again, saving for some of those big projects that are out there in the city of Fernley and our roads and so on and so forth. And then the capital improvements fund, we're very fortunate to put almost $6.5 million away towards these projects. Again, we're well short of the amount that we need to get the projects done, but we're working towards those. Any questions on this page? Then we will move on to page 21. And honestly, as we get closer to the back, we'll skip more pages. So I don't have you there. Andrew, you're going to go to page 43. This is the general fund. This is where the majority of the things happen that you guys pay attention to and think or need to pay attention to, other than the capital improvements fund. What I want to go over with you at this point is the second and third and fourth columns. The second column is what the final budget was after we did any grant augmentations, any amendments. The third column is what we actually received in revenues and what we actually spent. And then the fourth column is just the difference between the two. So I'm going to go through and just look at the variance really quickly. Taxes, we had about $344,000 more than we thought. A large piece of that's Nevada Copper buying large pieces of equipment that we get property tax, or we get taxes on, personal property taxes. We moved down to licenses and permits. We ended up with a little over $1 million more than we budgeted. The majority of the reason for that is utility license fees, revenues increase. And those are what the citizens pay when they pay their gas bill, when they pay their electric bill. We get a certain percentage of that, up to 5%, when they pay those, that comes to the county, goes into the general fund. And with utility prices going up, the revenues to the county go up because it's a percentage of what the bill is. Then let's skip down 2 lines to charges for services. We had approximately $351,000 more in charges for services than we budgeted. The lion's share of that came from assessor commissions, which basically when the assessor goes out on personal property, which think big pieces of equipment, whenever he goes out and appraises those, a certain portion of the property tax that's levied gets set aside for use in the assessor's department under state law, and it becomes a charge for services assessor commission. So think Nevada Copper again as well, although it's not exclusively there, but that is a big piece of the difference. Then we're going to move down to other revenues, which is about $144,000 more than we budgeted. That was from property tax sales. When people were delinquent on the properties for so long, I think it's up to 3 years, the county sells those, and if there's more of a profit and people don't claim them after a year, it goes into the county general fund. That's the reason why that's over budget. We'll move down to the expenditure side. We had a variance where we underspent our budget in general government by $710,000. General government is comptroller, assessor, reporter, clerk, treasurer, facilities, community development, those type of things. And so in there, the large reason why that we underspent our budget is we budget for reporter tech fees. So when the reporter reports documents, there's a certain revenue that comes in, technology fee that goes into there, that stays in there. And we budget every year to be able to spend all of it just in case a project comes up that she needs to spend on technology. But she didn't spend all of it. So that's a major reason why that went down. Also, our insurance over the past couple of years, we've been very responsible. We've had less lawsuits. Geez, I'm gonna have to go get a drink. Water. Thank you. And if the rest of you need a drink to get through all of this, I understand.
No, because you're gonna hurry.
Our insurance went
Save
down.
your voice.
Insurance went down a couple $100,000. Mostly that's deductible payments. Well, we haven't had to pay it out. I blame that on the Board of County Commissioners, county manager, and Eric and Human Resources doing the right things to make sure that we take care of our employees and they don't feel like they need to go through a lawsuit with us. Move down to public safety. We have approximately $1,500,000 that's below budget. That's because we can't get people to work for us as often as we would like. So we have, I think right now, approximately 16 vacancies in the sheriff's office. We have 3 or 4 in dispatch. That's a significant portion of why the public safety is under budget. Not, they're not spending the rest of their budget. They just can't fill their positions currently. Hopefully that'll change as we look forward. Let's move down to judicial. We're $1.1 million under budget there. Similar situation, we're having a hard time filling district attorney positions currently. We've had one position, I think, advertised for the past year and then multiple over that. I think we're down 3 or 4 right now. In addition to that, the indigent defense, where we pay public defenders, contract public defenders, the conflict cases and all of those things with the new bail hearings and everything else that we have. That's we received grants from the state, even though we budgeted part of it, they reimbursed us, so we ended up with a bit there. And then if we move down to welfare, $218,000 under budget. Division of Child and Family Services at the state, and we pay for child welfare out of the general fund. They couldn't fill some of their positions either, and so they refunded us because what we were going to pay because they didn't spend it. So we got a refund. Any questions on the general fund on this page? Okay, then we'll move on to page 25. And Andrew, that will be page 49 for you. These are our enterprise funds, proprietary funds. These are your water and sewer funds, State and Water, Dayton Sewer, Willow Creek General Improvement District, Silver Springs General Improvement District. What I want to bring your attention to is the third line from the bottom. This is a profit and loss. How much did we end up more in revenues than expenditures during the year? Dayton Water, about 2.1 million. Dayton Sewer, about 3.5 million. Keep in mind, this doesn't include debt payments, just the interest portion of them. The principal portion doesn't show up in this figure, so you have to, in your head, subtract that out of there as well. We actually did fairly well in both of those funds. The other ones are closer to break even. Part of the reason for that is we're in the middle of huge construction projects for Dayton Sewer and Dayton Water. We're looking at a large one that we're saving money up towards for a water tank and some line replacements. And we have to save this money up for those. Once those get on the books, we're going to have depreciation that comes in that'll bring those profits down. And we're also going to have increased debt service payments because we're borrowing approximately $20 million in total on the sewer side. So it looks good right now. And the only reason for that is because these projects have taken so long to come to fruition. We're in the middle of bidding out the Dayton Sewer rolling A plant expansion. That's all I have for this page. Any questions? Okay, we'll move on to page 47, which will be 73 for you, Andrew. And this goes over the amount of debt that the county's in at the moment. And so if you look up at the top for the Dayton Sewer Fund, we have approximately $11.8 million that we're in debt. And we're in the process of spending down almost $17 million more over the next little while of the bond funds. We drew approximately 3.2 million down of the bonds for the Dayton Sewer of the 20 million that we're issuing. And then down at the bottom with Willow Creek and Dayton Sewer on the USDA side, we have another 7.1 million in debt. So just an FYI there. Then we'll move on to page 86. Andrew, page 123 for you. One other revenue in the general fund that came in above what was budgeted. We see that in good times, and then we're starting to see this go the other direction for the current year, but that is our consolidated tax revenue. The board, under a fund resolution and also a policy, authorized the county comptroller when the consolidated tax in the general fund is higher than what was budgeted, that I can take that amount, and I took roughly that amount, $750,000, and deposit it straight into the county stabilization fund. So we increased the balance of that by $750,000. It's our rainy day fund. We have an ending fund balance of 3.45 million, which is about 80% of what statute allows us to put in there for when those revenues don't come into the general fund, or when we have an emergency, a flood, fire, earthquake, those type of things that have a major impact to us. Any question on that one? Then we'll move on to the fun things, the pictures. Let's go to pages one, start with 129. Andrew, you'll be on 178. So 129 just shows the fund balance over the last 10 years for the general fund. You can see we spent into fund balance a little bit this last year. And you can see the last 3 years, we have a significantly higher fund balance than the previous ones. Think federal stimulus funds being infused in the county. That's going to turn around and we're going to go back to where we were in the prior years, but just FYI for you on the reason for that. Well, Andrew, you don't have to do anything. We'll move on to the next page for anyone who's in the book. And you can see the graph on the right there, which is our general fund. And these are all the expenditures in the general fund for the last year, broken down by function: general government, public safety, judicial, health, welfare, culture, and rec. So it gives you an idea what we spend, where we spend our money as far as functions. Public safety went down 3% from the prior year. When I take a look at that, I compare the same chart for the prior year, it went down 3%. General government went up 1%, and judicial went down 2%. That's not that we didn't budget for it. The reason public safety went down, as we already talked about, we couldn't fill positions in the sheriff's office as quickly as we would like, and also dispatch. That's a major reason why that amount went down percentage-wise of the rest. General government went up because we ran an election. And so those costs went up. In addition to that, we had a community development director for the first time in a while. And so that and community development costs were significantly higher because we were seeing a lot of activity there. And judicial went up 2%, mostly the cost of those indigent defenses. The legislature required us to change how we were doing things. Andrew, you can move one more page. Now we'll move on to page 131 in the audit report. This is the exact same information, but instead of breaking it down by function, we break it down by what we call object, which is salaries, employee benefits, services, supplies, and capital outlay. In comparison to the prior year, salaries went down 1%, services, supplies went down 1%, capital outlay went up 1%, and benefits went up 1%. Benefits went up because our health insurance costs and workers' comp costs went up. Salaries went down, so we couldn't fill the positions. Service supplies went down because we're just that good. I'm just it's just kind of works out that way. And then the graph on the right, we'll move to 132 in the book. The graph on the right shows all of our special revenue funds, which excludes our enterprise funds, the general fund, and the capital improvements fund. It just shows you what those balances increase are there. And a lot of that is the increase in your RTC fund is the reason it went up from 130. So we're saving up the projects. We'll move on to the next page, Andrew, and ours will be 133. This is the road fund, any fund balances for the past 10 years. You can see we are down right around 8 to 10% ending fund balance of what our expenditures are, which is right around where we want it. We had a larger amount earlier previously, but that was before Dustin took over, and Dustin has been getting a lot of projects done on our roads. And so that's the reason why we're down and basically on making on that. So those are the graphs. I have 2 more pages left for you. We'll go to page 136, which Andrew will be 186 for you. And as you get to the back where the graphs are, and from there back, just take some time when you're awake, Commissioner Jacobson, and go through all of those and just look. There's some good demographic information. I showed Andrew and he's like, wait, I need all that for my report that I'm writing. So it's good information. But on page 136, it's the top 10 taxpayers for the last fiscal year, and then for 9 previous. So it ends up being about 10 years difference between the two. And you can see our #1 taxpayer for the county is Nevada Copper, and it's not even close. So I'm hoping that that mine is able to stay successful. I know they stopped active mining for a while. Hopefully they're getting to where they're gonna be active mining again. But that is your largest taxpayer by far. If we stop receiving those revenues, if that taxpayer ends up having challenges, that's a significant piece of what our general fund revenues and other tax, general indigent, medical indigent, and those type of funds rely on. So that's something I'm keeping an eye on. If we have issues there going forward for whatever reason, we may need to make some corrections in what we're spending to it. So just so you're aware there. Hopefully not. Hopefully everything goes just peachy there. And we'll move on to page 154, the last page I have for you today. And that's on page 203 for Andrew. So this page and the three prior to it list out all the federal revenues that we received during the year and spent money on. Should just say that we spent money on. And so we had approximately $8.5 million that we received in federal grant revenue that we spent. And that's an increase of about $1.1 million over the prior year. Of that, approximately 55% is for Dayton Sewer, for the state revolving fund loans that we have there when we're doing those projects. And that came out to about $4.7 million of it. And then 23% is human services, which is about $2 million of it. And the rest is broken down. I can go through it if you ever want to get with me and show you all that. But just to give you an idea of what we bring in federal revenues and the purposes there. Any questions on this one? Okay,
I already fell asleep reading it the first time.
okay. You know, I was impressed. I saw I was the only one drinking during this presentation, so I appreciate your attention. With that, I need to turn the time over to our auditor because he has a substantial burden in this audit to make sure that it's done properly. And I want him to go over his opinions and all of that with you. So now I will turn it over to the more.
You know, you
looking
didn't
at
get any
the two.
phone calls from you this year, so you did good. But now I'm waiting for Jim to tell me that what I read was correct.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I'm glad you were here. I know you haven't been feeling well. There's the right face.
Yeah, here we
That
go.
matches the name that's on my paper.
Jim Schreiner, Schreiner and Company for the record. Always a hard act to follow. You know, I always get the daunting task of following Josh. It's amazing what knowledge he has, like numbers pop through his head. He memorize them. Of course, when you deal with them that frequently, this report probably, I don't know, I guess probably 200 hours to prepare, at least. So it's significant effort. You can't imagine the amount of time. So most of our audits, comptroller doesn't prepare the report. The lesser audits, they don't have the staff to do it. So Josh is probably one of the few smaller counties that actually prepares the report, so which is a good tax savings for you. And plus, I think he knows the numbers so dramatically because when you have to punch him all the time, it just gives you that format. So with me, I'm going to be brief also. Sole purpose you hire an outside auditing firm is to express validity to these numbers. So we issued 3 opinions, and the first one's found on page 1, 2, and 3 of the report. Our profession revamped the opinion this year. It used to be the opinion was buried on page 2 of our report, and so they moved it up to the front. And so basically, there's 4 types of opinions we can issue. The most frequent and most desirable is an unmodified opinion that these financial statements present fairly the results of operation and the financial position of the district. I mean, the county. So, got your clean opinion that you strive for. Our profession is a little crazy, I think. If you turn to page 4, we have a whole section that dictates now telling you exactly what we do in an audit. Which I don't know, it seems kind of crazy to me, but no one asked me those questions. So that was the clean opinion you strive for. So how do we come to that opinion? Based on a lot of testing. We test all your transactional cycles, cash receiving, disbursement, payroll, go to Dayton Utilities, test their collection cycle. So based on that, and do a lot of other testing, test the bank reconciliations, were they accurate, receivables, were they accurate, payables, are they accurate, accrued payroll, are they accurate, confirmed outstanding debt obligations. So based on all that data, we can form an opinion that we can either rely on the data or we can't. So in this case, we definitely can rely on the data and issue that unmodified opinion. The other opinion we issue is clear back on page, I think I have a cheat sheet here. 147 and 148. So part of a governmental audit is also we have, in part of doing the audit, we do a risk assessment. So audits are based on risk, and so we assess risk at what areas are most risky, probably devote more time to those. And then we also, like I said, test the internal controls of those systems. And so based on those testing, we form conclusions also. So we could come up with, so that opinion on that page is also an unmodified opinion that we found no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in your internal control system. Had we found some, we would have a finding saying that everything was fine, except, for example, like the cash receiving system, cash bank deposits not being timely made would be an example. It was significant. We would list that as a finding. So again, no findings there. The next opinion on this next page is that we also required to test your federal programs. Anytime you receive federal funds in excess of $750,000, invokes that single audit act, which then is, again, is a risk-based approach. We have to do quite a bit of planning on it. So we have type A and type B programs. Type A program is any program over $750,000. And that receives a lot more attention than the smaller ones under 750. In this case, your only type A program was the Clean Water Act, the Dayton sewer system plant. So we tested the heck out of that. But like Josh said, about 55% of the expenditures. Our provisions, we need to test at least 20% of your total expenditures. So the bulk of our testing was at that ground level. And again, no findings. There's 12 general compliance requirements we have to test. And major one there would be, you didn't hire someone that was disbarred, your reporting was accurate, their expenditures, Davis-Bacon was followed of such a large project. So based on all our testing, there was no findings in there also. So that was the clean opinion you all strive for. I also wanted to just point out that on page, I think it's I-7 was your certificate of excellency that Josh received for his report. He spends a great deal of time to make sure that the report is up to compliance requirements. Every year we get new GASB statements, and this year was GASB statement 87 leases, and Josh spent quite a bit of extra time doing the lease provision. I think we're up to GASB statement 112 or so. I don't know, they're issuing them like water. And so it's always hard to keep up on them and get those provisions implemented, but Josh does a phenomenal job at that. So with that, you got all your clean opinions, no findings, no significant recommendations. If they were verbal, and build any questions you may have.
Any questions? Great job as usual. I just got a question for the two of you. So have you considered cloning yourself for when you retire? So the county can continue to have the excellence that we've had. Raising the little me's, mini me's or something. Anyways.
Well, I think Josh's son is a CPA working for a large firm in Utah. So his son did follow in his.
We might have to move him back.
My two children saw how hard it is to be in this profession, the time and element involved in. They ran completely the opposite direction from being a CPA.
Right?
Yeah.
Mr. Jacobson, you had a question.
Probably because he comes home so cranky, right?
That's why they moved down at a young age.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Strani. Actually, I do have one question for Mr. Foley. And when I was going through this, so back in the meeting, and you could write a third book, Budgets for Dummies, and I would be the first to buy it. All right. So we had a meeting, it was in Silver Springs, and we voted to go away from was it guaranteed status to, does that show any in here what that we made on that, what we increased on that? I didn't see it.
Right, so Josh Foley, Lyon County Comptroller, for the record, that became effective July 1st, which is the day after this ended. So we will be seeing that in the next fiscal year. And we saw it in the budget where we saw an increased amount of consolidated tax revenue that we budgeted for. But excellent question. Just
I was gonna say, that wasn't a dumb question.
That's-
Yeah,
That, see, budgets for dummies, you could, if you'd sign my copy, I will buy it the first day it comes on. See, now it's all right there. Thank you, Mr. Foley. Great job. You and your department. Awesome.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
thanks, Josh, and thanks for coming down again. I know you're not feeling well, Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can we go back to the pages that shows what we got from the federal government?
I was wondering if we were gonna talk about that.
We are.
Yeah. So Andrew, go to page 203. For you, for us, it'll be pages 151 through 154.
Yeah, I'm just gonna make a comment, I appreciative of these funds that we have received. I just don't think we're getting enough. I hope next year's report, this page is about double what it is here.
I'll add the pages if we can do that.
So we do need to work on the number of grants that we receive from the federal government. So that's my only comment.
I agree. Anybody? else?
I just like to say, when it comes to money, thank you for keeping us out of jail. Really, it's good to have an expert in this field, and you certainly are that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So with that being said, you want a motion, right?
That would be fantastic.
So can I get a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the fiscal year 2022 annual comprehensive financial report.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion in a couple of seconds. Any further discussion? How about public comment? No one, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Excellent job as usual from both of you. I know we had a couple of little quick crazy breaks this morning, but I'm going to ask that we take a quick break before moving on now that we've gotten through our time certain. So 5 minutes, we'll be back. One way or the other, we're breaking for lunch, so let's see what we can do here.
Roger that.
Well, the employees are
Yeah.
time sensitive, so. Again, I'm gonna ask everybody to please take their seats. 17B for possible action, authorize the county manager to submit a letter providing comments to the Bureau of Land Management regarding the Nevada-wide Resource Management Plan, RMP Modernization Project. This was requested by Commissioner Henderson.
Yep, again, Andrew Haskin for the record. This one's pretty much as stated. I included the letter as backup. The BLM is looking at doing an update to the resource management plan. It would be statewide, so Commissioner Henderson, I don't know if you have anything that.
Yes, so,
Commissioner
yes,
Henderson.
thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, this is something that originated with SLUPAC, which I sit on. They have some concerns with BLM's plan to do a statewide resource management plan. Right now, I believe there's 12 or 13, and BLM has a hard time doing each individual management plan on their own. So now they're going to try to do it statewide. So there's some concerns with that. So the genesis of the letter is to show support for updating the resource management plans to encourage consultation and collaboration with local governments, and also for BLM to staff up so they have the personnel available to actually do this in a timely manner, and we're not waiting till 2030 for a new resource management plan statewide. So I would just like to encourage us to authorize the county manager to send this letter to the director of BLM to add our voice to SLUPAC's. And if I may, I'd like to make a motion that we authorize the county manager to submit the letter included in the packet, providing comments to the Bureau of Land Management regarding the Nevada-wide resource management plans.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? We don't have any public comment. Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. 17C for possible action, presentation, discussion of on the preparations for the 2023 legislative session and government relations representation, and to provide direction to the county manager on government relations representation and other matters pertaining to. Commissioner Henderson also requested this one.
Yep, so I'm here today to give a just, oh, and Paskin again for the record, sorry. I'm here today to just give a brief overview of the preparations that we're doing for the 2023 session. Also here today is Mary and Steve Walker with Walker and Associates, and they're going to talk a little bit about some of that too. I'm just going to keep my comments pretty brief. So I think for the last 20 years, almost 25 years, Lyon County has worked with Walker and Associates as our government relations representative at the legislature. So
You can call them lobbyists, it's okay.
as our lobbyist at the legislature. And so we now you threw me off. We are planning to work with Walker and Associates again this year. We have begun preparations. I've had several meetings with Mary and Steve, just kind of talking about some of the issues that we see out there coming up with the 2023 session. One of the things that we are considering, in talking with Mary, because this will be their last session, they plan to retire at the end of this session, is kind of a handoff for the next session. And so when talking with Mary, she felt that one of the most ideal situation would be to have another group that was also representing Lyon County that they could work with, so that that handoff can take place and be smooth, because there's a lot of issues that she's been tracking for a long time for Lyon County that are nuanced, and so we want to make sure that we're maintaining great representation there. So with that, I'll bring Mary and Steve up, and they can kind of talk a little bit about some of the preparations and where we're going.
Thank you, Andrew. For the record, Mary Walker, Walker and Associates. It's very nice to see you.
Good morning.
So the 2023 legislative session, I am hopeful that it's going to be better, particularly than last session, which had a lot of anti-rural and lack of consideration of rural Nevada, which may be part of the reason why the election went the way it did. And we have a new Republican governor, with the rural counties putting that governor over the top. So I am hopeful this time around. The things that were difficult for us last session in particular was the judicial reform, as you remember, AB 424, requiring a pretrial sentencing hearing 48 hours after someone is arrested is basically near impossible to really do a good job there. And we all know that, but nothing was being listened to. Over the interim, there were 12 legislative committees that we followed. In the Judiciary Committee, there was a lot of sentiment, particularly even from the Democrats, that they want to listen to the rules and to try and resolve some of the issues that we had with AB 424, which is important because it means our courts have 7 days a week court. So we have some opportunities this time, and in particular, working on trying to resolve that AB 424. There is a bill out, SB 55, and it's from the Supreme Court. And that bill would prohibit justice courts and municipal courts from open and transacting judicial business on Sundays and holidays. And I think that would really be very helpful for our courts. And then we'll see what the Democrats are gonna come out with. We don't know that at this point. So there are some hopeful things that I'm, that we're looking towards. The other thing is if there are additional judicial reform bills that really don't take into account operations on the ground. I think by having a sheriff in the governor's office, he's gonna know how this works. And so I am looking forward to having somebody who really knows how things work. As you know, so there are some good things, and Steve has a bill he wanted to talk to you about. As you know, you have SB 20 is the Lyon County bill, which NACO submitted for us to process filing vacancies on Board of County Commissioners. So that's SB 20. We're happy about that. Some of the threats that we have coming towards us, I would say one would be if they come after any other judicial reform and that kind of thing. But at least we have an opportunity to fight it. So kind of our firewall is the governor, but it's also in the Senate. The Democrats do not have 2/3. They're short one vote. So that means that the Republicans, the 8 Republicans in the Senate are also our firewall. So that's the good news in regards to that. So we would be looking towards, fighting those types of bills, trying to rectify some of the damage that has been done from last session. Also, one of the threats that we have just on a high level, we believe that the city of Fernley may be coming out with a bill in regards to the consolidated tax again. So I don't know much more about that. Mr. Haskin, Mr. Foley, and I have a meeting tomorrow with Legislative Council Bureau and Senator Titus and Fernley in regards to what they're actually looking at. I have been in local government finance for over 30 years. Was Carson City's finance director for 12 years, and I'm one of the mothers of the C-Tax. So I know how this goes. I know what the intent was when we established the C-Tax in 1997. So I'm hopeful tomorrow, we can talk to the new mayor about what the history is and all of that. I did go back and look at the prior consolidated tax bills, and everyone where you had a city coming in asking for more money, whether it was Fernley or Reno or whatever, they all got one hearing and they never got heard from again. And a lot of that is because of the work that we did together on that. So so those are some of the positives, some of the challenges that we'll be looking at. Typically, there's about 1,300 bills that come out. We monitor about 500 of those. It's a lot. And so when Mr. Haskin talked about, if there was somebody that you felt wanted to take over from us, because we are retiring June 30th. If we had somebody to work with during the session, we could talk to them about, okay, this bill, here's the history, this is why we're against it. I mean, there's so many issues from sheriff to fire to community development to, you name it, that having somebody there at the time that we're having our final session could be, I believe it is the best opportunity for you to have a good transition.
Do you want Steve to go or?
Yeah, Steve, you want to?
Good morning, Commission. For the record, my name is Steve Walker, Walker and Associates. I just wanted to mention, we've had about 120 bills, pre-filed bills out, and they came from government agencies, local government. So a lot of them are pertinent to what we do. But again, that's 300, and there's going to be 1,200, 1,500 bills total. So I'm sure there's going to be lots of surprises. I deal in water resources and natural resources, public works. community development components. Water, at this time, there was a bill, two bills that are out publicly on water. One of them is AB 34, and it's notification requirements for actions on water. Basically, the state engineer requires, or water law requires, that if you're going to do any type of action on a permit, change the location, change of the well, make a permit for an application, change the manner of use, that you have to put that in the paper in the area 4 times for specific, but for 4 weeks publication. And then after that, you can do a protest of the action. That one's going to go to 1 week because evidently there's been some type of issue of rural newspapers not getting the publications in. But it's still going to be, if it's one, then it's valid, but it has to have the notice date that at this date from it's usually 45 days from that first publication, you have to have your protest in. And that one's minor. There's a real good bill coming out of Conservation of Natural Resources, AB 20, and it redoes the SRF program, and that is the loan program that's funded by the government, for the federal government, for municipal water supply and wastewater treatment. And it's revising that. It's tied to the federal law. But to me, the exciting part of it is that for the first time, there's going to be a funding source for dealing with groundwater contamination of nitrates caused by concentration of septic systems. It's in every town I've worked in Nevada, there's that issue. And it's usually based on 1 acre parcel, individual well and septics. And in almost all cases, that type of density pollutes the groundwater. When you try to deal with it, there's no money to do it. You have to pay a hookup fee, you have to abandon your septic system, sometimes your well. For the very first time, it's under the infrastructure funding that they're going, this law, that if it passes, will allow funding mechanism to deal with that issue. I know Lyon County did deal with it effectively in Mount House, but there'll probably be other areas all through Western Nevada that would be important too. The other issue in water is that it's coming up every session, and it's because of Lyon County's has the surface water, groundwater resources, is that connection between those two, the conjunctive use issue. And so if you over pump the groundwater, does it affect the surface water resources? Is there less water running down the river and or creek? I don't know how it'd be dealt with. They're completely separate chapters, 533 and 534, that deal with groundwater and surface water, but it's going to keep coming up. Any action, the problem with it is any action to change the law has this historic significance. That, no, you gave me my permit in 1933, now you're reducing the volume and that historic thing. So it becomes really problematic. But I'm sure there's going to be attempts at it this time. Other issues we're going to deal with is also some equity issues as far as tribal representation on water boards, that they want to make sure that the tribes are more included. And Assemblywoman Peters is very big on that. Otherwise, it's just one more session where I'm sure there'll be some excitement, and we're looking forward to it. And I'm personally looking forward to it to be my last. Thanks.
Hey, Commissioner Henderson, you have questions, comments at this point?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. First thing I want to do, Mary and Steve, is thank both of you. Yeah, I've had the pleasure of working with you over the years, and I can certainly understand you being excited this is your last session. I looked, there's 682 BDRs as of today, and I know it's just, 1,100 bills each session is what you have to deal with. I do agree that it would be a good idea to bring somebody along to work with you this year. Who that would be, I don't know, but I know there's several capable organizations out there, and that would be something I think we should look at. Because part of lobbying, a lot of lobbying, is the relationships that you have. And I just went through and looked at all the pictures of the senators and the assembly people. Who are these people?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, my first session was 2007. There is not one person
That's right.
in office now that was in office in 2007. So I do think it's important that we bring somebody on with you this year so that those relationships can start being built and they represent, you know, recognize that they represent Lyon County. And that's really all the comments I have. I just want to thank you again. And I look forward to working with you during this legislative session. Not like I used to, but I'm still available. and congratulations again. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Mr. Jacobson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to thank you folks. I appreciate the briefings that you send out and I've benefited from those very much. And so I want to wish you well on your retirement. And then I don't know if you're allowed to recommend or endorse somebody, but obviously with the respect I think our commission has for you folks, we would definitely value your opinion on that if we're going to follow you through the legislative stuff. And so any help you could give us there would be great. But again, congratulations and wish you well. Merry Christmas.
Mr. Hockaday.
Yes, I really appreciate all the work you've done in the past, keeping us up to date on things and representing our interest. Unfortunately, we do see every 2 years, 1,100 or so input for new laws and bills, which I think is absolutely absurd because we got to find something, right? Got to keep pumping stuff in there. Really would like to see it, 2 days every 120 years instead of 120 every 2. Well, I would just feel safer, but wish you Merry Christmas and a happy retirement. So great.
We just want to say thank you to Commissioner Keller. We've worked with her for so many years and we're going to miss her. And she's been on our legislative coalition and for years and really have appreciated that. And I also want to say I really appreciate working for Mr. Haskin. I think he's really doing a good job and appreciate his professionalism.
Well, Steve, Mary, I was going to say the same thing. We've got some years of history.
Yeah.
And I know this is going to be your last session, but I will be there. I may not have won the seat, but you're not going to kick me out. I'm still going to be there. So, and if you need some help, just call me up. I mean, I'll gladly go down and sit down with some folks if you need somebody extra in the room or some testimony. Done that too. Okay. So, but yeah, I think it is a good idea to get somebody on board. I obviously would value your opinion, but I also think, it's transparency for the county that we probably should seek out, at least letters of interest.
Right.
I don't know if they need to do an application or anything like that, but at least find out who all's interested. Obviously, that decision won't be mine, but, before the board's consideration, I think it would be good. And then obviously your opinion does matter. So, but thank you. Yeah, a lot of years. Enjoy it. Just have fun with it. How's that? It's the last one. Commissioner. Thinking of Commissioner Henderson behind me. County Manager Haskin. Did you have anything to add or?
No further comments other than this item was to
Do you need a motion?
Well, that's why I had the Commissioner Henderson and I'm looking at Andrew at the same time.
Do we need them? I mean, I'll be happy to make one if we need one.
Do we need a?
Or do you have direction? Do you feel you have enough direction?
Yeah. I mean, I think we're in the early stages of exploring, the possibility of the second representative there. So, yeah.
And I, Madam Chair, if I may, yes. I do have one more comment on this, and I brought it up before, but does Lyon County have access to a bill tracking subscription? They're available through LCB. I don't know if counties get one automatically or not. They should, but I don't know. But that'd be a question to ask. Or if they don't, I believe each legislator gets 3 subscriptions. So if you have one extra that you're not going to be using,
My mind there, Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Assemblyman Gray.
An upgraded Nellis subscription for, give you one line for wherever you want to track your bills.
Perfect.
Yeah, because that would be very helpful for us to have a tracking system available to us. I mean, we appreciate reports that you guys send, but sometimes there's things that come up between reports that we need to look at, so.
All right. I will work with Assemblyman Gray on that.
Right. Yeah, and I think Commissioner Henderson's correct as far as Lyon County being able to
So we
get
should
that
get one,
without,
I would
but,
think. Because they're
um,
like $600 for this, or might have gone up, but it was like $600 back in 2019.
Yeah, but you can always reach out to your Assemblyman. I've always had that in the past myself because Assemblyman Wheeler was always kind to share with me, so. But I would look into the county one first before Kenny gives up one that he can give to somebody else,
Perfect.
so. We're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you have direction and we don't need to make a motion, I'm good.
All right.
Then I'm gonna move on to 17D. I'm thinking about that lunchtime. Authorize and select county commissioners to attend the 2023 NACO National Association of Counties Legislative Conference in Washington, D.C., February 11th through the 14th for an approximate cost of $3,500 per person. This was also requested by Commissioner Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I may, it's just the legislative conference is coming up. I think it's important that Lyon County participates in National Association of County events. I also think it's important that we visit our congressional delegation, as I've expressed a couple of times. I'm not happy with the status of our relationship with them. Whether this is the best way to do that or not, I don't know, but I figure we need to get this on the agenda if anybody is interested in attending in February, so we can get the early registration rate.
And if I can comment on that, my understanding this year, they have confirmed that they will have everybody back in Washington for you to meet with. Unlike last year, we picked people to go and found out the last minute, you weren't going to meet with anybody because they weren't there. So I've been told that's been confirmed. So hopefully nobody has to cancel their trip because things changed.
Yeah.
So I'm not going, but I would like to, since we have a commissioner-elect that is not up here to speak for himself, to at least throw out the name and for Scott Keller to possibly go. And then you gentlemen decide. Would you like, is there anybody that has a preference of going or not going?
I mean, I have no pressing desire to go back to Washington, D.C., but I would go. But if one of these gentlemen would rather go, I'd be more than happy to stay home.
Commissioner Jacobson, possibly Commissioner Hockaday. I think you were the one
I'm
who
fine.
got canceled last time because they changed.
Well, I'm fine. I don't need to go.
You don't need to go. You don't want to go back to DC.
I was there as a kid.
DC. Been there too many times.
You'd be surprised, even though we have access to Congressman Amity and others, in the state of Nevada, you'd be surprised sometimes by going back. And I'm sure Commissioner Henderson can back me up on this. You can actually get answers and sometimes relationships growing that you can't do if you stay home.
If I may, Madam Chair, it's one of the things Senator Reed always expressed every time we went back to see him. And when I was with NACO with League of Cities, he expressed how important it was for us to come see them in Washington. Why? Because he has his staff there, and we can get answers there. He doesn't have his staff here, and that worked out really well. So I do see value in going back to DC to meet with our delegation there.
So with no objection, I would like to move that we send Commissioner Keller-elect, not me, and Commissioner Hockaday. And then Rob, if you want to go, I mean.
I already said I'm fine. So
Okay, I'm just double checking, so to have at least two representatives.
I don't need to go. I've been to DC 14 times.
I've wandered the streets there too.
I mean, I do think it's important that we go back to DC and visit our delegation there. Something we might want to consider for the future is a a standalone trip away from the National Association of Counties event. I know a couple of the cities in Nevada do that. They go back for the League of Cities thing, and then they go back and have their own meetings because there you can focus on Lyon County and not Nevada. So that may be something to look to try to do in the future, is maybe the chair, vice chair, and county manager go back and have a meeting with the delegation. But we'll see. If you want to make the motion for up to 3 people and something comes up and I need to go, if there's a need, since hopefully I'll be on NACO. We can do that because.
Well, and the point of this trip, it doesn't matter who's on NACO or not. Any one of you can go.
Oh,
So,
I understand that, Mom.
well, yeah, I mean, I can amend that up to 3. And then.
And then the names
go
can be
from there.
determined.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I was just absorbing what.
No,
you
not a
said,
problem.
so, yeah.
Okay. So the motion is to send up to 3 recommendation, obviously, for Commissioner Keller-elect and Commissioner Hockaday and one other. I have a second. Any further discussion, public comment? Commissioner, Assemblyman Gray, excuse me.
Nope, just speaking as Ken, former member of this body. I would highly recommend, with Andrew being a new county manager, I would highly recommend you guys consider sending him as well. He would be a good fit. And it's not just the relationships with the elected members, but their staff as well. So they can put faces to names, and he'd be the guy to work with them on the daily basis. So I think you'd really get your bang for your buck out of that one. And I know we'd sent county manager Page in years past as well. So I would just highly encourage you guys to do that. Probably before you send another, for the Sunday, I would send him as a 3rd guy for sure.
Right. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Gray. That is actually a good recommendation. So if my seconds, because I think I had a couple of them, don't mind the amendment, I would like to add, unless Josh is going to tell me why I can't do it.
Because I think the agenda item specifically says county commissioners.
Oh, you're right. So you'll have to have that discussion later. Okay, so my motion stands. Public comment. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Was that an aye? Okay, nays. Okay. Motion carries. So instead of waiting to the end while it's on my mind, Andrew, you might want to put it on the next agenda for that discussion for the board. Excuse me. You're rubbing off on me, Josh. Okay, 17E. For possible action, authorize the county manager to advertise for the vacant county commission District 3 seat and begin accepting applications December 15, 2022 through January 10, 2023, with applications to be brought before the county commission on January 19th, 2023. Mr. Haskin.
All right.
I think that was self-explanatory.
It was pretty self-explanatory. So we did get word that Governor Sisolak will not be making the appointment for District 3, and that Governor-elect Lombardo will be making that appointment. So I communicated with his staff on that, and being the governor-elect, and they asked that we send 3 non-ranked names to the governor for consideration. So with that, I'm just asking for permission to get the process started and move forward to get that advertised and start accepting applications.
Okay, can I discussion or motion?
Motion.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we authorize our interim county manager Haskins to advertise for the vacancy of County Commission District 3 seat and begin accepting applications.
Second.
With the deadline being the 15th of, or the 19th of January.
Application, just to clarify, the application deadline would be the 10th, so we could get them all included.
Okay, 10th of January, 2023.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion, and a second, further discussion, public comment. Don't everybody jump at once. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, district attorney for possible action. Proposed ordinance amending Lyon County Code, Title I, Chapter 4, General Penalty, and Title 8, Chapter 1, Section 1, Definitions, Chapter 10, Section 3, Citations, Chapter 11, Section 9, Enforcement of Provisions, Section 10, Violations and Penalty by designating certain vehicle and traffic-related criminal misdemeanors as civil infractions consistent with Assembly Bill 116 enacted by the 81st session of the Nevada Legislature. Mr. Rye.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Steve Rye, District Attorney. I bring this ordinance before the board today, as it mentions there in the title, in response to AB 116, which takes effect January 1st. And it changes what have historically been traffic violations as crimes in Nevada to civil infractions. And the county code is being updated just to include a definition of a civil infraction and include in the penalty provisions the term civil infraction. As you can see, if you looked at the ordinance and the code, the county code's traffic provisions are very antiquated and probably need to be updated in a more thorough basis. But at this point, the most important thing is just to be ready for this civil infraction change, and that's what we're requesting with this ordinance. Today, we're asking that a commissioner consider proposing that ordinance. It will be set for public hearing if it's proposed either the first or second meeting in January.
Okay, do we have any questions for Mr. Rye before somebody proposes this?
Yeah, I do.
Commissioner Hockaday.
There's I'm taking it as a lot of this italicized type language is something new to us because it does say a civil law self-help center and a court security personnel equipment for regional justice center. So are we looking at significant increase in costs for?
You're looking at the
courts?
provisions of AB 116, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. So that's what I believe, that's how some of the money has to be handled. That's sort of outside the purview of the county. But yeah, there are additional programs that will probably come out of this. The courts have been working in Lyon County. The courts have been working diligently to try to make this transition happen on January 1. There are some concerns with potential budget impacts with AB 116, but AB 116 has already been passed and approved. And so I don't want to get too much into that, but I'm sure that's something that Josh, his office, and the courts will be monitoring going forward. It is a change getting a letter in the mail that says there's going to be a warrant for arrest if you don't pay your ticket is pretty effective, and that goes away with this bill. So there is concern as to whether or not the fines will come in at the same pace, but they're working on things to make sure that happens. But that's outside of our purview here at the county.
We're just looking at what it's going to cost.
Yeah.
And where we're going to be. Just caught something here. I'll talk to you. It's something that they made a mistake on as far as they go through and get rid of defendant on everything and put in the word person. And yet they didn't do it. So I'll talk to you about the correction on that in case we need to worry about mistakes. And there were just some really interesting things in here that people are gonna look at as far as speed limits and civil infractions. Doing 70 and a 60 is only a $25 fine and doesn't go on your record. People might want to read that because it goes from 60 to, I think, 80. And if you're in an 80 zone, you go 85, you only have to pay $25 infraction fee. It's quite different. That's probably all. I know there's some sections in here at the end, and I believe it's what we've seen before, but there are some areas in here where the Board of County Commissioners are involved, which I would have never known, and what we're supposed to do and pay for, and, allowance and fees. And so there are some catches in here for us to realize we might be tagged for expenses.
Right, that's all the case. The courts are dealing with those expenses and implementing a new case management system to handle this piece. to go with everything else they've had to do the last couple of years. They're not happy about that, but they're getting that done. The other thing I will mention briefly, which is not sort of related to this ordinance, the sheriff's office is part of this too. I know their citation system is being updated. I think they're behind on that. I haven't talked much to Sheriff Honeywell in the last, or Sheriff-elect Pope in the last couple of weeks about it. But they're also going to be sort of on the hook January 1. So they're working through some of those issues. There's also that issue about a traffic stop leading to further criminal activity and what happens if it's been changed to a civil infraction and investigation things. But the sheriff's office is working through those issues in conjunction with the DA's office. Everything should be smooth. This is just one of the pieces.
No, that was about all I had, was that there's, I read through it and went blind because of the fine print, but there's a lot of things in there that we need to be aware of, and I'd appreciate it if we could be updated on some of the things as they fall on our heads.
Sure.
Commissioner Anderson.
I'm ready to make a motion if you want.
Well, no, you
Propose-
just got to propose it.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, I propose an ordinance amending Lyon County Code Title 1, Chapter 4, General Penalty, and Title 8, Chapter 1, Section 1, Definitions, Chapter 10, Section 3, Citations, Chapter 11, Section 9, Enforcement of Provisions, and Section 10, Violation and Penalty by designating certain vehicle and traffic-related criminal misdemeanors as civil infractions consistent with Assembly Bill 116 enacted by the 81st session of the Nevada Legislature.
Second.
It's just proposed.
Thank you.
Proposed. Okay, just proposed.
Thank you, Mr. I. Okay, human resources. Possible action. My stomach's growling. Receive presentation from the Human Resources Director. My stomach's still growling regarding health benefits plan performance.
You have it.
I was waiting for her to start laughing and you to start laughing. Come on. The only one that laughed was Wes. Anyways, receive presentation from the Human Resources Director regarding health benefits plan performance and approve employee benefits broker contract.
Good morning, Eric.
Mr. Malasky.
HR Director, Commissioner Keller, very subtle, thank you. Appreciate that.
I think she's hungry.
Yeah, I gleaned that. Lyon County's been with its employee benefits broker for 17 years. It's not a service the county has historically submitted requests for proposals for. Under the statute, professional service, the procurement statute, professional services are exempt from the typical bidding process where the lowest responsible bidder gets the contract. The reason for that, to use the language of the statute, professional services are poorly adapted to that type of framework because the quality of the professional, the experience, things like the professionals' relationships in the industry, and a number of other such factors often bear on us getting the right outcome in the big picture. And it's not all a matter of what's the cost of the fee. I mean, certainly that's a material factor, but it's not all about that in the big picture. I believe I'm the 4th HR director over the course of the last 17 years who, after applying those factors and looking at how we're doing with our current broker, has come to the conclusion that we're in pretty good shape. Based on some discussion that had come up with the commission earlier this year, though, I know I had promised to come back here and give a presentation, giving an explanation as to why we view it that way, and make sure that the board, and for that matter, the public, sees the quality of the insurance plan that we're getting, the value that we're getting out of it, what our broker's role is in procuring those products for us. And how much we pay the broker relative to what other counties are paying there, so that all that's an open book as well. I promise, I've got a deck of PowerPoint slides here. I will fly through it as fast as I possibly can, while still giving everyone the information they need. And then at the end of this, of course, very subtle again, thank you. We'll hopefully be able to improve our broker's company. All right, so looking at our plan, is it a good plan and are we getting a good deal out of it? Factors that we look at in determining if it's a good plan: low deductible, low co-insurance, reasonable co-pays, solid RX formulary, breadth of network. Here I've got a spreadsheet that'll compare our plan to or our base plan to what the other counties have, the other class 3 counties. I'll give you the super short version so that we don't have to go line by line through this or anything. We have the best in class plan. When you look across the board at our copays, out-of-pocket max, we have no co-insurance, which is very rare for in-network services. The copays are reasonable. The RX is solid. It costs our employees and their families less for a hospitalization than it does anywhere else. All things considered, this plan is best in class. That's nice. Are we getting a good deal for it? To understand whether we're getting a good deal for it, we first should probably touch quickly upon the concept of loss ratio. By way of reminder, that's simply the ratio of money going out on claims expenses from the carrier. So when people go to the doctor, get treatments, the doctor bills the carrier, and the money that the carrier pays the doctor is the numerator. The denominator, of course, is the premium, what the carrier takes in from us. And a typical loss ratio for a group our size is around 88 to 90%. If you don't want to take my word for it, there's 5 studies with links at the bottom there that will support that. A group our size, now if we were Google or something, I could probably get it so that I nail our loss ratio at about 90-91% every single year, because the law of large numbers kicks in for organizations of that size. For ours, there's a little more variance, and so 90% or so, high 80s, low 90s is a target. But for a group like us, it's, you get 2 or 3 more large claims in a year than you had last year, and you see it spike up. That alone could drive it 6% or so. And so just keep that in mind when you look at the next slide, which is our loss ratio history over the past 10 years. You can see the average loss ratio has been 97%, which is just insane to get that good of a value out of insurance. Now, not to like go too deep into a history seminar here, but some of my predecessors had this philosophy of, when it gets the premium starts to get a little too high with one carrier, you jump to the next, and so that's why you see us bouncing around a little bit here. What we've tried to do over the last few years is kind of trying to more gently land the planes. Sorry about that. Into that high 80s, low 90s range, so that we have a more sort of stable form of plan management. And we've tried to remain with Cigna to do that. As long as Cigna continues to treat us fairly on premium, our hope would be to keep that going forward. The broker, though, in procuring those great loss ratios for us over the years, irrespective of any differences between my plan philosophy and some of my predecessors, the broker has scrapped and clawed for the premiums that he's got for us. He does that through when it comes time to do the RFP for insurance, negotiate the rates. He does his own in-house underwriting, just as the carrier would, so that he's looking at it with the same eyes as their insurance folk, their actuaries will. And that way we can anticipate all the arguments they're going to make, come up with our own, and make sure that we're really hammering for the best deal possible. He also helps with plan management, claim troubleshooting through the year, which is a huge thing for our employees. You do have claims that don't get paid out properly for whatever reason, doctor's office codes it wrong, whatever. He is absolutely fantastic at doing that. He will do it. He will go hard out of the box, whether it's a commissioner or any other employee or their families. He's done it. I've seen him do it for 5 years now, and really try to get the right service for those folks. Compliance too. There's a pretty strong network of laws that apply in the area of insurance. You've got ACA, ERISA, and some other things, section 125 IRS regs. And it's nice to have someone with the subject matter expertise in those areas that keeps us out of jail, which he does with all the notice requirements and everything else. As far as his compensation goes, his compensation in his current agreement and that's being proposed for the next plan year, which coincides with fiscal year, is a commission of 1.75% on all coverage lines. You can see to date in the current fiscal year how this breaks down. The total commission he's collected on all the premium has been just shy of $34,000 through 6 months. Most of that, the biggest chunk is medical, because that's where we pay the most premium, and then you see dental, vision, life below that. For the full fiscal year, You just double that. So the anticipated commission he'll get this year, including the first 6 months and the second 6 months, is $67,895. An important thing to note, of this total commission, the amount that the county will pay is about $40,000. The reason for that is we've got other entities that piggyback off the county's plan. Western Nevada Regional Youth Center, Mason Valley Fire, Fernley Pool. There may be another one or two. The city of Yerington does too as well, I think. And so part of the commission gets apportioned off to those entities, as well as to the extent that there's dependent care coverage. Part of it is bared through the dependent care coverage there too. Or excuse me, the premium for dependent care. So as far as how that compares with what other counties are paying their brokers, here's a spreadsheet on that. I did an information request from all these counties. You can see there's some variance here in what all the counties are paying their brokers, and some contracts are structured differently. We're around the median as far as what we pay our broker. Here's us here. So that's the 68,000. You can see it goes as high as just about 140, as low as 35,000, and then there's some other sort of interesting fee structures in there as well. So just so you have that for comparison. Again, though, Lyon County share when it comes to our broker is just about 40,000. As we look ahead, just here's some things that will be, our brokers already started to do a lot of legwork on with us, for us. And we'll continue to do that. We're gonna continue our approach of stable plan management, no carrier hopping to chase unsustainably low rates. This year, we're having one of those bad years, at least to date, with some large claims activity. And so it'll be important going into the renewal season this year in January and February. The negotiation, the scrapping and thawing, that'll be as important as ever. And another thing we're doing this year is evaluating ways to restructure the plan so that we retain a best-in-class plan in terms of richness of benefits, but also maybe can save some money in some areas with targeted adjustments to be able to increase our dependent care subsidy, because that might provide better value to most of our employees. Last slide I have in the deck here, the importance of good results and cost of bad ones, and why we care about having a good broker. Seemingly small differences in the premium rate can have big fiscal impacts. Like every 1% we leave on the table in the negotiation of what the increase is going to be in premium for the next year amounts to 50,000 in premium. So when you compare that to the amount of the commission, that's why we start to see in the big picture, it's important to make sure we get someone who's going to do it right for us. In addition, we of course like the part where the broker assists employees in getting claims paid. That's an important piece of the picture too. I mean, you might remember an event earlier in the spring where the broker went way out of his way to help a law enforcement family deal with an extremely difficult situation and got a retroactive life insurance plan change, which just like doesn't happen. I mean, insurance companies don't retroactively change their policies. And he was somehow able to swing that. So, I mean, he does that well for us too. The compliance piece as far as ACA notices, Section 125 compliance, everything else. The folks that work with him I'm on the phone with him every week. We see that he's doing a good job. And so again, I'm sorry, I know everyone's hungry. This was brought up earlier in the year, and I just thought I'd share it for you all in the public, like why we want to stay with this person. So that's all I got. Thank you.
You do a great job always. So do we have the questions for Eric? Can I get a motion?
What was the
19A, just looking for us to approve the employee benefits broker contract.
It just says receive presentation.
receive
I don't
Just
presentation.
as possible action, receive the presentation, which we just got,
Mhm,
and
approve the
approve
benefit
employee
broker.
benefits broker contract.
So I'll
That's what
move
you're looking
to-
for, right?
Move to approve the employee benefit broker contract.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion second. Any further discussion? Public comment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair. Just briefly, Steve Wright, sorry to interrupt you, but if you could go back to item 18A.
Back to 18.
Because it wasn't a motion, I believe there was no call for public comment. And so perhaps we should just make sure there was no public comment on that particular item.
Gotcha. You're right. We proposed it and I didn't ask for public comment.
Thank you.
Okay, revisiting item 18A for possible action, that was to propose the ordinance amending Lyon County Code Title 1, Chapter 4, General Penalty, and Title 8, Chapter 1, Section 1, Definitions, Chapter 10, Section 3, Citations, Chapter 11, Section 9, Enforcement of provisions, and Section 10, Violation and Penalty by designating certain vehicle and traffic-related criminal misdemeanors as civil infractions consistent with Assembly Bill 116 enacted by the 81st session of the Nevada Legislature, and this is for public comment only. Seeing none. Thank you. Is that good enough? It's on record. Okay, and thank you, Steve. Yeah, we got to the proposal and I apologize for skipping the public comment. Okay, Human Services for presentation only, presentation of the FY 21-22 annual report by the Lyon County Human Services.
Shoot. That didn't work. Oh, no. Oh, there it is. Almost had a moment. That's okay. Aha. Okay, Shayla Holmes, Director, Lyon County Human Services, for the record. I will do the same thing as quickly as possible and perhaps make a recommendation that we change us to like A+ Human Services, so that way we go further in the agenda. Nonetheless, the Stanford Center for Social Innovation says that a wicked problem is a social or cultural problem that is difficult or impossible to solve for as many as 4 reasons: incomplete or contradictory knowledge, the number of people and opinions involved, the large economic burden, and the interconnected nature of these problems with other problems, like poverty is linked with education, nutrition with poverty, the economy with nutrition, and so on. Poverty, homelessness, child abuse, substance use, equality, health and wellness are a handful of examples that plague our county, our nation, and our world, and that touch each and every one of us every day. The Human Services Department exists because of society's wicked problems. Solutions take a mix of research, innovation, and sheer grit, and the division managers with the Human Services Department bring their knowledge, skills, and abilities to the table every day to tackle these wicked problems. You'll never find a group of more determined individuals to fulfill our mission to enhance the well-being of individuals and families across the lifespan. But we don't do this alone. It takes this amazing staff that are also committed to the individuals and families that they serve. It's hard work to come back every day when methods you've used and seen work for one family don't work for another, and you have to keep coming back and adjusting your tactics. The staff within the Human Services Department do this because they fully embrace our motto: we believe in people. It also takes money. This is our funding mix. You already heard in depth from Mr. Foley a little bit earlier, so I'll try not to bore you with that too much. But as you can see, we're heavily reliant upon grants. We're equally grateful to the county tax rate and the in-kind contributions from the variety of departments within the county that make it possible for us to do this work. That's not included in our portion that you see on the tax rate, but it takes HR, IT, roads, facilities, all of those folks and their amazing staff to make it happen for us as well. The other thing I want to highlight on here is those are departments and divisions at the state and some nonprofits that contribute to our grants, but that's not the full encompassing titles of all of the grants of which we receive from all those divisions. Every year we operate and manage anywhere from 30 to 40 grants to make all of these programs and services work. And this year, 21-22 was particularly high because of all of the individual COVID and ARPA funds. That brings us to the Administrative Services Division. This division is the logistical glue for the department. They're also our grant management team. I have to commend them because every time we get a crazy idea to write an additional grant, they always say, okay. They too have been increasing in the amount of grants of which they utilize to do their work. So when it comes to our front-facing administrative assistants, they operate what is known as the Family Resource Center. They're the first stop for anyone seeking assistance, connection to resource, or applications that they might need. And within this last year, all of our grants are continuously increasing their accountability through data collection and reporting. So this last year, they had to change a bit as to how they do that. No longer can somebody just come in, ask a question, and walk away with the answer they needed. They now have to collect some demographic data, and they have done all of that with having minimal impact on the individuals we serve. And for that, we thank them. And with that, I want to introduce Jenna Dykes, who's going to talk about the Children's Services Division very briefly.
Good morning. I am Jenna Dykes. I am the Division Manager of Children's Services. Fiscal year 2022, Children's Services totally knocked it out of the park. They did amazing. We introduced a few new funding streams, which affected multiple programs and multiple staff as well. And they took these funding streams and learned everything that they had to do, which is new data to collect, new time allocations to report on, and new assessments for families. They took this, they ran with it, they did amazing work, and they did everything they had to do to make these programs successful. One of those programs was our new program to Human Services, which is System of Care. This is a program that has a beautiful, wonderful relationship with Community Chest and Lyon County Juvenile Probation. And the goal of this program is to divert youth from entering the juvenile justice system when there is a behavioral health concern rather than a behavior issue. I think we all know that once an individual goes into the correctional system, they could be there for a really long time or the rest of their life. And for a youth, that's a really long time. So not only did this program create and enhance relationships with community partners, the rest of the Children's Services Division did as well. They worked with community partners, businesses, and the families they work with to just flourish in their roles. We also worked really well with internal referrals that we got from senior services and adult services and made those connections stronger. So I am just super proud to be a part of this division. I'm proud of the work they've done. I'm proud of the goals they've accomplished with these families. The things they see are really hard. The stories they hear are heartbreaking, and they continue to show up every day and do everything they can for these families. So thank you so much for hearing me gush about my division, and I will pass it back to Shayla.
Thank you.
Heather Benson is our Adult Services Division Manager, and unfortunately, she's pretty sick this week with what's going around, so she wasn't able to be here today. She did want to highlight her division and her staff's time and commitment to bringing back community outreach this last year. So they headed the Community Expo or Community Connections Expo, which was a collaboration with the city of Fernley and the Boys and Girls Club of Truckee Meadows. And they brought out over 50 different service providers to that event, which they were extremely proud of. They also facilitated the Unmasking Mental Health in attempts to normalize mental health and break down the stigma. A variety of partners and individuals in the community decorated masks, and they made sure that there were displays of those throughout the community at different public locations to really highlight mental health as something normal that we all experience. And with that, I'll introduce Rebecca Williams for Senior Services.
Thank you.
You look all Christmassy.
I am. Well, there's a party. I heard there's food too.
I heard.
I'll make this quick. I was at my previous job for over 20 years and I thought it was the best job I could ever have in the world. And I have found my next best job in the world I could ever have. I consider myself very fortunate that I get to work with some of the best people that walk the earth who are doing amazing work in our senior centers. Our cooks, drivers, case managers, and supervisors come to work each and every day with one goal in mind: to make the lives of Lyon County seniors better in some way. They provide hot, nutritious meals, activities, rides to appointments, rides to visit loved ones, which was very important over the past year. assistance applying for programs that will benefit them in some form or fashion, or just a home visit to make sure that they are doing well. I look forward to this coming year as we gain traction with one of my favorite new grants, which is a Meals on Wheels pet grant to help people, our homebound folks, get food and supplies for their dogs, cats, and birds. Found that out. And then also our handyman grant. We often would get calls and asking for help of changing a light bulb or changing a filter or fixing a ramp. And we were fortunate to receive funding this year to help with small handyman grants around the homes of our seniors. I wish you a Merry Christmas and a healthy New Year.
You too.
So real quickly, we do have a strategic plan, a 5-year strategic plan, 2019 through 2024, that we do continue to work on, and it guides the work of our department internally and externally. This last year, we focused on 2 of our goals with the main objectives of creating a robust volunteer program to allow individuals in the community to give back and then also meet the needs of individuals that need to be connected to a volunteer program in some capacity. And then also in working on our emerging needs framework. There's consistently always new issues popping up, and how we identify and address what is appropriate for the county to own, or if we need to be an advocate for finding a nonprofit or external party to own those issues. So I can say that we are a little behind, but in a 4-year plan that we create, or a 5-year plan that we created prior to COVID, I feel pretty good that we're running just about 6 months behind. So we're wrapping up our volunteer program, and we have implemented our emerging needs. And this upcoming year, we're looking forward to continuing to work on some of our other goals, such as our enhanced communications plan and creating a community scorecard to really continue to bring together all of the parties within Lyon County that have a vested interest in seeing human services succeed. And with that, we are open to questions. And I appreciate your time. We try to go as quickly as we can so we can.
Oh, you did awesome. Any questions?
No, just a comment, Ms. Holmes. You and your team just do amazing work, and we certainly appreciate it. And I certainly appreciated your success in getting grants to help alleviate the burden on the county. So thank you very much.
We're gonna get that federal page up to like at least 1 more.
Well, I want other departments besides you on there, though.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also want to thank you and your team for the amount of grants and opportunity you bring to seniors, to our young kids throughout the county. So thank you very much. Well done.
Thank you.
It's amazing to look at the bottom of your slides where you have the number of contacts in the thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, basically. How you do all that with the amount of money that you bring in is just, it baffles me, but you do a fantastic job and we really appreciate it. So that was an excellent presentation.
Yeah, no, it's hard to call you Miss Holmes, it's just Shayla, but I've always known you Shayla, but anyways, and everybody in your team, you guys are all amazing. I've seen the work you do firsthand. And I know a lot of it is even forced on you with laws and stuff that we have in place, and you've got to meet certain criteria and all these things. And we couldn't have a better team that stays on top of that. You not only take care of the community, but you meet all the requirements along the way. So anyways, I wish you all Merry Christmas. You did a great job on the presentation.
Thank you.
I figured you guys are hungry too. I wasn't really speaking for just myself.
It's my understanding you ladies are free to go start eating. Probably.
Okay, real quickly, agenda request, Commissioner Henderson.
Yeah, I'd like an agenda item sometime in January about our grant receiving activities. Just to report on what we've got and maybe discussion on what we can do to improve that. Possibly up to and including a grants administrator.
Yeah, we already did that.
I did it.
Commissioner Jacobson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know with the deadline for the applications due for the vacant District 3 seat on the 10th, is there a chance that we would review those on the 19th in open session, or was that a committee? I'm not sure, but if it's open session and, or we need to have it before then, having a special meeting, just get some clarification on that. And then attending that joint commission meeting, I really think we need to do some follow-up. I don't know if it involves litigation and it's a closed session or if it's whatever, but I think we would be just sticking our head in the sand if we don't discuss or start making a plan for down the road activities. So I would leave that up to maybe the DA and Mr. Haskins to hash that one over.
We'll bring something back for you.
Thanks.
Do you want me to provide some clarification on the January 19th meeting? That'll be at a commission meeting. It will be a commission meeting.
Oh, perfect. Then that you don't need anything there.
Commissioner Hockley.
And we had discussed this before about the civilian advisory board. As far as going in and looking at some of the requirements. I think one of them happened to be the registered as a Lyon County voter. Need to just review some of those situations that we were discussing as far as requirements for the applicants.
Okay.
You've already got mine.
All right.
Okay, so before we move on. We still have one on the front page that we haven't addressed.
Someday.
There it is. Had all these hash marks, but where'd it go? Okay, presentation of awards, recognize Commissioner Vida D. Keller. Oh, that's me.
Yeah.
And Commissioner Ken Gray for extraordinary contributions and service for Lyon County.
All right.
That was weird to read it that way.
Yeah.
Mr. Haskins.
All right. Andrew Haskin again for the record. So earlier we recognized the other elected officials that were leaving Lyon County, but we definitely didn't want to leave out the two commissioners that are also I don't want to say leaving Lyon County because I know I'm sure you'll be around, but they will also that are also stepping off the county commission. Commissioner, or excuse me, Assemblyman Gray due to his election in the Nevada Assembly, and Commissioner Keller due to her terming out. And
I'm not termed out.
oh, I thought you were.
I will come back to haunt you again someday.
All right. Well, due to her current term being done, so ending. So with that,
I'm moving on to other things. How's that?
All right, there we go. All right. So with that, we do have a couple of plaques here. And I'd like to call both of you up. And nothing else spoken. Sure.
Wait, it's fully here.
You did what?
Really?
No.
It's like.
Don't mess with them, okay? Oh, come here.
Short speech. No speech.
On my briefcase, and time is a speech. Henry, did you get up here too? And the rest of you guys too.
Oh, do you want me to try that back around? You're still taking pictures. I'll let her take pictures. I wasn't paying attention to you.
All right.
All right.
Let's go in the middle of the.
Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you for. You want to say something?
Hang on, I had somebody that was walking out and wasn't trying to ignore, so. Go ahead.
Sure.
I'm timing you.
All right. I want to say thank you to everybody, during the 6 years, wasn't something I was looking for. To go to the
You know,
legislature,
hey,
say move up.
We got people on Zoom. Come here, I'm gonna change you up. You come
Oh.
on here, say your thank yous and I'll.
All right. I'll just start over then again here real quick. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. Leaving the county board was not something I went looking for. This was, when I decided to jump into this, this was my goal here. And, there may have been times where we had strife and angst and pain, but I really enjoyed working with each and every single commissioner. And, I think we got to a lot better decisions, sometimes when we did bring those things to the surface, and yes, my blood did get a little bit, pressure would get a little bit high sometimes, but that's, it's a personality thing with me, but there isn't a person up there I don't respect. I do honestly respect each and every one of you and the guys in the past that I've worked with. More importantly, I respect our residents. And that's what I've always tried to be first and foremost is a citizen of our county and, what is right in our interest as citizens of the county. But this is very special. It will be going in my office at the legislature. And I'm not going anywhere. I am just going to be fighting a little bit harder for our county in a different arena. So thank you guys very, very much and Merry Christmas.
So I'm just moments away from my very last act on this board for now. You never know what upcoming events might have. Anyways. But it's been an honor to serve Lyon County now twice. So I've now completing my 8th year and on this board, and I've worked with many of commissioners over those years and the current board. And I think each and every one of you, we don't always see eye to eye, but I think at the end of the day, we're still friends, and that's what matters. So, and I don't believe that I'm leaving you in incapable hands. He won't speak much for himself, in public, just get in to do the job, but Commissioner Keller-elect, has, he's not just, hey, following the wife's footsteps. He is literally put in the years, over 15 years on advisory boards, water boards, you name it, serving Lyon County. So, I think I'm leaving you in good hands. So with that being said, thank you for the recognition. It means a lot. I appreciate it. So I'm going to go to commissioner comments and shut up here. Commissioner Henderson, I'll start on my right.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I want to personally thank you for your service to Lyon County. You have been an inspiration and I appreciate your service. And with that, the other thing I said, Merry Christmas, everybody. Hope you all have a good time and let's all remember the reason for the season.
So, Commissioner Hockaday.
Thank you for your service to the commission here to the county, both you and Commissioner Gray, Assemblyman Gray. I do appreciate the input that you've given to me on many discussions that we've had, and we're going to miss that as far as some different ideas and opinions, but that's what I think being a commissioner up here is all about, is agreeing and disagreeing, voting, and then moving on. But thank you for everything you've done. And everybody have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Commissioner Jefferson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We appreciate all you've done. I thank you for really getting me into this. So I appreciate that. But at any rate, you've done a great job. I respect your leadership and your preparedness each and every month, each and every week as months have gone by. And Commissioner Gray, I wish you well as an assemblyman, wherever there he is. It looks like the assemblies must have a treadmill in there, huh? You dropping some LBs? There you go. We'll get one of those in here, Mr. Foley. A lot of our, now that Sharani's gone out of our slush fund. So, but with that, I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And, just a special thanks to our county staff. I know we're celebrating them at the potluck here this afternoon, but, attending the event yesterday in Silver Springs and seeing Shayla Holmes and the different things at these community centers throughout the county, we are truly blessed with really great staff. And I just want to wish all the county staff a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, because we are loaded with talent. So thank you.
And I just want to echo, I let these guys go first, so I always sound like an echo. But I want to obviously thank each and every Lyon County department for all that they do all year long. And if it wasn't for all the people in all these departments, we wouldn't be having a potluck today, right? So we could go over and talk good about everybody. So thank you to everybody that, has provided food or toys for the kids, whatever they donated, or to the raffles. I know a lot of work goes into today's luncheon, and it is appreciated. Everybody really appreciates it. So yes, Assemblyman Gray, I wish you all the luck. I'll see you in Carson as you're wandering the halls and kicking some butt.
I've got a seat for you in the office.
No, I said you got to wander the halls and kick some butt. Anyways, with that being said, again, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. And the happiest of today, Steve says no closed session, mark that off. So I'm going to go on to public participation. So this is for anything that wasn't on the agenda today. Anybody have anything to say under public participation before we go to lunch?
So I
Look it online real quick. Hang on,
Make it
hang
real
on,
quick.
hang on. I was looking for hands.
One of the things I'm going to try and do, I don't say it differently, but one of the things I'm going to try and do is communicate more with the counties I represent. So you will probably see me at least at one commission meeting a month, maybe a little bit harder during legislative session, but to give you guys update as to what's going on with the legislature, the caucus, and anything else. So it's going to be interesting being the first assemblyman from the Central Lyon corridor that I can find in history. The next closest one came from Carson. And as an interesting aside, PK O'Neill from Carson is the only one that's got a shorter drive to the assembly building than I do. So it's kind of nice. But thank you guys for giving me this opportunity, and I will do my best to represent you and make Lyon County shine. So thank you guys very, very much. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
And I'm assuming we'll see you across the street.
Yep.
Okay. Hey, Shayla, we did it. It's 12:04. We are adjourned. My last final act.